1 billion additional AHB units launched. Malaysia pursuing de-dollarization trading in ringgit. Hello, good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Shuhaida Arifin and you're watching Malaysia Tonight. Prime Minister Dato' Seri Anwar Ibrahim today announced an additional 1 billion units of Amanah Hartanah Bumi Putra for public subscription. It is part of Pelaburan Hartanah Berhad or PHB commitment to provide more opportunities for the Bumi Putra to own beneficial ownership in real estate market at strategic locations across the country.
Saya ucap tahniah kepada Syed Nizam dan juga Madam Syal kerana dapat pertahankan bukan sahaja keberuntungan tetapi pengurusan yang dapat dibanggakan. Kita sebagai orang Islam dan lebih Melayu, kebanggaan kita apa? Tentunya perniagaan atau ekonomi atau pendidikan, tapi yang penting juga tentang nilai, tentang integriti. Bila kita diamanahkan, kita boleh tunjukkan bahawa ya, kami memerlukan sedikit bimbingan pada peringkat awal. Tetapi ya, kami akan dapat uruskan dengan sebaik mungkin, dengan amanah dan tidak ada kecurangan berlaku.
Previously, the maximum invested amount was limited to 500,000 ringgit and it has now been increased to 1 million ringgit for individual investors. AHB is Malaysia's first Sharia compliance unit trust specializing in real estate. The mechanism of subsidy provision through cash transaction is being considered to avoid any leakages. However, Prime Minister Dato' Seri Anwar Ibrahim said such methods should only be used for certain transactions only.
Dalam kes ayam dan telur ini tidak perlu begitu kerana harganya sudah menurun. Cadangan untuk cash transfer itu sedang ditimbangkan untuk beberapa urusan lain dan mungkin akan diumumkan. Yang memang difikirkan dalam beberapa isu lain yang kita akan umumkan yang lebih besar untuk mengelakkan keterisan dan manfaat kepada asing.
The Prime Minister said this in reply to Datuk Muhammad Shahar Abdullah, the Paya Besar Member of Parliament, who wanted to know whether the government is planning to provide subsidies directly to the people through cash transfer to prevent leakage. Meanwhile, Dato' Seri Anwar said the government is prepared to import chicken and eggs from Thailand to prevent price hike or supply shortages.
Tapi mengapa kita lakukan sekarang? Kerana harganya turun dan supply-nya besar. Stok 30%, harga di Thailand jauh lebih rendah. Jadi tidak ada sebab mengapa kita tidak boleh lambatkan seandainya ada pedagang-pedagang yang ambil kesempatan untuk menaikkan harga.
The Tambun MP added the issue can be addressed through various means, including the provision of the Ramah Cash Aid SDR. In Friday, the government has announced 10 billion ringgit for SDR despite the current financial constraints to help the people. The Election Commission has set 2nd December as polling day for Kemaman Parliamentary by-election. Its chairman, Tan Sri Abdul Ghani Saleh, said the nomination date and early voting will take place on 18 and 28 November respectively.
Daftar pemilih pilihan raya DPPR yang digunakan untuk PRK Parlimen P040 Kemaman Terengganu adalah daftar pemilih terkini sehingga daftar pemilih tambahan bulan Ogos 2023 yang dikemaskini sehingga 3 Oktober 2023. DPPR bagi PRK Parlimen P040 Kemaman Terengganu ini mengandungi seramai 100,041,790 orang pemilih.
For the purpose of conducting the by-election, the EC has appointed one returning officer who will be assisted by 3 assistants as well as 2,102 election workers. A total of 49 polling stations with 244 voting channels will be opened on polling day, while for early voting there will be 4 polling stations. The Kemaman by-election is being held following a decision by the Terengganu Elections Court on 26 September, annulling past candidate Cik Alias Hamid's victory in the 15th general election after the petitioner Wan Muhammad Hisham Wan Abdul Jalil, a voter, was able to prove that corruption had taken place in the election. Construction of the East Coast Rail Link ECRL project has achieved progress of 50.29% as of August. According to Deputy Transport Minister Datuk Hasbi Habibullah, construction work this year will only involve major structural works such as beam launching, construction of stations and track laying. Dato' Hasbi revealed that tunnel boring works for the first Genting Tunnel have reached 3.1 km, while the second Genting Tunnel has reached 4.29 km out of total distance of 16.39 km.
Kontraktor utama projek ECRL adalah China Communication Construction Sdn Berhad dengan izin CCC ECRL yang juga merupakan kontraktor kejuruteraan, perolehan, pembinaan dan pentauliahan dengan izin Engineering Procurement Construction and Commissioning EPCC. Sehingga 31 Ogos 2023, pihak kontraktor utama telah melantik pelbagai syarikat tempatan yang secara keseluruhannya berjumlah 2,785 syarikat terdiri daripada subkontraktor, konsultan, pembekal serta pemberi perkhidmatan.
The cost of construction for the ECRL project from Kota Baru, Kelantan to Port Klang, Selangor, with a line of 665 km passing through 20 stations and 4 states, still remains at a total of 50.27 billion ringgit. Coming up in our business segment, TINE invoice to address revenue leakage, reduce size of shadow economy. The government is currently working to increase the demands of ringgit through de-dollarization approach. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim noted that Malaysia is the only country in ASEAN regions which has been aggressively pursuing the de-dollarization to reduce reliance on the greenback. So far, Malaysia's biggest trading partner, China, has agreed to use ringgit in conducting businesses.
Negara China ya, penyelesaian sekarang ini daripada jumlah perdagangan ialah 25%. Maknanya 39.2 bilion ringgit itu dalam mata wang ringgit dan renminbi. Daripada jumlah 157 bilion. Maknanya dengan negara China paling berjaya kerana peningkatan yang agak tinggi.
He also did not deny Malaysia's reliance on the US dollar has caused the ringgit value to drop. For other countries such as Singapore, the Prime Minister said although about 15% of Malaysia's trade is with the Republic, it is not keen on using ringgit as the trading currency. While China, on the other hand, has been receptive to trading in ringgit.
Cuma permasalahannya bila syarikat itu terlibat dalam international trade yang lain. Jadi mereka sukar untuk mengambil kira kepentingan dua negara sahaja. Kemudian saya tidak lihat ada minat Jepun, Hong Kong. Kita berikut kalau ikut urutan kepentingan perdagangan ialah Thailand, Indonesia sudah masuk. Korea tidak. India masih mengenakan sekatan penggunaan rupi luar India, melainkan untuk warga negara India. Jadi rundingan itu mungkin mengambil masa. Yang tanggal ke-10 pasaran ekspor Malaysia adalah Vietnam. Dan Vietnam, Presidennya dan Perdana Menterinya telah pun memberi arahan supaya
dipercepat proses rundingan di antara dua negara ini.
Last week, Dato' Seri Anwar said Malaysia has begun to actively and aggressively use ringgit when trading with several countries, with the move towards de-dollarization in an effort to increase demand for the local currency. The government has taken the initiative to create the Tax Identification Number (TIN) and e-invoice to overcome revenue leakage and reduce the size of the shadow economy in Malaysia. Deputy Finance Minister Datuk Seri Ahmad Maslan said the two methods are to replace the Goods and Services Tax (GST).
Kita tahu bahawa pelaksanaan GST boleh menurunkan 10% daripada shadow economy. Tetapi kita tak laksana GST tahun ni, tahun depan pun tak ada pengumuman. Jadi bagaimana cara untuk kita mengurangkan shadow economy dengan kaedah tanpa GST? Caranya ialah dengan pengumuman dalam bajet yang diumum oleh Perdana Menteri, iaitu pelaksanaan e-invoice.
The Deputy Minister added that the implementation of e-invoicing is a new mechanism to improve the efficiency of the country's tax administration and in turn enhance tax compliance. Dato' Seri Ahmad said from 2000 to 2009, the estimated size of the shadow economy was 30.2% of gross domestic product (GDP). However, he said for the period of 2010 to 2019, the size of the shadow economy has been reduced to 21.2% due to the implementation of GST from 2015 to 2018. The Communications and Digital Ministry (KKD) will hold a meeting with the management of the Gulf Information Technology Exhibition GTEX Global 2023 in the near future to see the opportunities available in bringing the exhibition to Malaysia. According to its Minister Fahmi Fadil, this is an excellent opportunity to place Malaysia in one of the global events involving various international technology companies if GTEX can be held in Malaysia. He said this during an engagement session with the Malaysian diaspora in Dubai, held outside GTEX Global 2023. The engagement session also witnessed the submission of 8 memorandums of understanding by companies in Malaysia, Dubai and West Asia, 6 of which are for market access and 2 are investments. He also hoped that the 4-day official visit to the United Arab Emirates UAE could spur discussions between companies and give a good signal that Malaysia is open for business, particularly from West Asian companies, especially the UAE. In terms of investments, the UAE is currently the largest investor in Malaysia from the West Asian region and ranks as the second largest among the Organisation of Islamic Cooperation member states. The 12th Malaysia Plan 2021 to 2025 is a medium-term plan with the objective of achieving a prosperous, inclusive, sustainable Malaysia. Since its implementation, Malaysia has registered commendable socio-economic development, particularly in spurring economic recovery post-pandemic COVID-19, despite experiencing several global and domestic challenges. The overarching theme of the MTR of the 12th Plan is underpinned by the key enabler, which is enhancing efficiency of public service delivery with 3 main focus areas, namely strengthening sustainability, building a prosperous society and achieving high-income nation. In addressing and preventing poverty, efforts will be intensified towards increasing income and improving the standard of living. Another comprehensive set measures will also be implemented to fortify Malaysia's economic resilience towards attaining a high-income nation status. Additionally, steps will be taken to reduce barriers that hinder the scalability of micro, small and medium enterprises (MSMEs) by integrating them into domestic and global supply chains and fostering accelerated productivity growth among MSMEs. Having said that, the implementation of all development initiatives needs to be accelerated in driving the efforts towards attaining the set targets in line with the Ekonomi Madani Memperkasa Rakyat framework. Towards achieving an inclusive and sustainable economic growth, a series of measures have been laid to focus on sustainable fiscal conditions, rakyat's well-being, effective disaster risk management and high-impact investments. Under the Fiscal Legislative Reform, the enactment of the Public Finance and Fiscal Responsibility Act (FRA) this year will enhance the credibility of fiscal policy conduct towards achieving long-term public finance sustainability and microeconomic stability. Comprehensive measures were implemented to support businesses and the needs of the rakyat, with a special focus on micro, small and medium enterprises (MSMEs) that were badly affected by the pandemic. As of July 2023, Bank Simpanan Nasional BSN extended a financing facility amounting to 145.3 million ringgit, benefiting 4,747 entrepreneurs, including hawkers. Furthermore, through the Tekun Nasional financing schemes, a substantial 80% of the 263.9 million ringgit was disbursed to empower 16,960 young entrepreneurs, primarily for the acquisition of assets and working capital. Additionally, small and medium enterprises (SMEs) could tap into a 9.7 billion ringgit financing facility provided by BNM, along with a maximum guarantee facility of 90% from Syarikat Jaminan Pembiayaan Perniagaan (SJPP) for a total loan up to 20 billion ringgit. Now, BMI Country Risk and Industry Research (BMI), a Fitch Solutions company, has retained its forecast for Malaysia's budget deficit as a share of gross domestic product (GDP) to fall from 4.9% in 2023 to 4.3% in 2024, in line with the government's fiscal projections. It said a quick view outlook on the Malaysia Budget 2024 signalled a continued path towards fiscal consolidation. Commenting further on the matter through a statement released, BMI said the budget also marks a positive step towards Malaysia's medium-term goal of narrowing its budget deficit to 3.5% of GDP by 2025. BMI said that the most significant announcement that accompanied the budget were a hike in the sales and services tax (SST) to 8% in 2024 from 6% currently, the implementation of a luxury good tax of 5 to 10% on selected high-value goods, and the introduction of capital gains tax on the sale of unlisted shares starting 2024. The research firm said that more broadly, total revenue is expected to rise by 1.5% to 307.6 billion ringgit in 2024, of which the increase in tax revenue would help offset the decline in non-tax revenue. On the expenditure side, BMI said the government projected a marginal 1.2% increase in operating expenditure to 303.8 billion ringgit in 2024, while net development expenditure is projected to fall by 7% to 90 billion ringgit in 2024. Recovery in the labour market remained strong in the first half of 2023 in tandem with stable economic growth driven by the encouraging domestic demand, thus aggregate demand for labour increased, creating more job opportunities in the market. The labour force increased by 2.7% to record 16.3 million persons, resulting in a significant rise in the labour force participation rate to 69.9%. Similarly, total employment also registered a higher growth of 3.4% to record 15.7 million employed persons. These improvements have led to a substantial reduction in the unemployment persons to 569,400, with the unemployment rate of 3.5%, indicating the trend of the labour market is returning to the pre-pandemic level. The labour market is also expected to sustain the improving growth momentum in the second half of 2023, backed by continuous enhancements in the domestic economy. Thus, the overall unemployment rate in 2023 is expected to record around 3.5%, while employment increasing by 2.6% to register 15.8 million persons. The services sector remains as the major source of employment, with a share of 65.1%, mainly in the wholesale retail and trade, as well as accommodation and food and beverages subsectors. Coming up in our foreign segment, Israel kills over 70 civilians in southern Gaza airstrikes. Brussels police shot and fatally wounded an attacker accused of gunning down 2 Swedish football fans in what Belgium's Prime Minister condemned as an act of terrorism. Police opened fire on the suspect after he was cornered following an overnight manhunt in north-central Brussels. He later died of his wounds. Earlier, Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo said the suspect was of Tunisian origin and had been living in the country illegally. In a social media post after the killings, the gunman had boasted of being inspired by the Daesh group. The gunman, wearing a high-visibility orange jacket, fled on a scooter after the shooting, and Belgian authorities raised a terror alert for Brussels to level 4 or very serious, the highest, and level 3 nationally. Justice Minister Vincent van Quickenborne said the failed asylum seeker had been convicted of common law offences in Tunisia, but denied he was listed as a known terrorist threat. More than 70 people have been killed in their homes after Israel conducted air raids on Gaza's Khan Younis, Rafah and Deir al-Balah, according to the besieged Palestinian enclave's Ministry of Health. The deaths came overnight on Tuesday, about 10 days after Israeli occupation forces started its retaliation against the surprise attacks on southern Israel by Hamas. The violence has killed more than 2,800 in Gaza since 7th October. Many of those killed in the latest Israeli air raids were those evacuated from Gaza City and the northern part of the Gaza Strip as ordered by Israel. It was reported that ambulances were transporting the injured to already overcrowded hospitals, and many people were still trapped in the rubble of the targeted buildings awaiting rescue. The UN Palestinian Refugee Agency has said that fuel reserves at all hospitals across Gaza are expected to last for only 24 hours. In a related development, Dubai's International Humanitarian City facilitates a second relief airlift to Egypt's El Arish, transporting humanitarian assistance from UNICEF intended for Gaza. Relief convoys had arrived and are waiting in El Arish to be allowed to cross into the Gaza Strip to send the humanitarian aids for Palestinians. The aid group called Mersal said hundreds more lorries will be heading along the coast road for the 40-kilometer journey to Rafah. The blockaded territory has been under sustained Israeli bombardment since Gaza's ruling group Hamas launched a surprise attack against Israel on 7th October. So far, Egypt has kept the Rafah crossing closed to aid going in or foreign nationals trying to flee, as Israel has repeatedly struck the Palestinian side of the crossing. A Red Crescent official confirmed that their aid convoys were also being assembled on the Egyptian side of the divided border city of Rafah. Coming up in sports, over 600 police personnel to be on duty for Malaysian MotoGP. The National Sports Institute (ISN), along with the Malaysian Paralympic Council (MPM) and the National Sports Council (MSN), are in discussions to establish a reference centre for the classification of para sports. Youth and Sports Minister Henayo said it was an effort to improve the talent development ecosystem for para sports. She said the reference centre at ISN will also cover the National Classification System Development Project, as well as education and research elements.
Kerana setiap mereka yang bertanding itu mereka ada klasifikasi sendiri, jadi kita nak wujudkan sokongan itu di peringkat Institut Sukan Negara, dan pencarian bakat akan berterusan untuk kita pastikan atlet-atlet para yang mewakili Malaysia terus cemerlang dalam sukan.
A total of 113 athletes will be competing for Malaysia in 14 sports involving 104 events in Hangzhou edition. The national contingent is targeting a total of 35 medals. In addition to being optimistic about the ability of experienced athletes, Hannah hopes that the new faces who will make their first appearance at the Para-Asian Games can give their best and gain as much valuable experience as possible. The Royal Malaysia Police PDRM will deploy over 600 personnel to ensure the smooth running of the 2023 Malaysian Motorcycle Grand Prix at the Sepang International Circuit SIC on 10 till 12 November. KLIA Police Chief ACP Imran Abdul Rahman said their personnel are all geared up to monitor the safety of visitors as well as control traffic movement. Speaking to reporters during a briefing on the organisation of the Malaysian GP at the KLIA Police Headquarters today, ACP Imran said they would increase the number of personnel if necessary and the Federal Reserve Unit would be included later.
Setakat ni kita tengok penonton memang bagus. Tidak ada masalah-masalah yang besar lah. Kan? Dan saya percaya tahun ni pun insya-Allah dengan kerjasama tuan-tuan, pengunjung semua, kan, kalau ikut arahan mereka ni insya-Allah kemeriahan MotoGP ni akan berterusan lah.
ACP Imran also advised spectators driving to the venue to park their vehicles at the designated parking lots provided, since SIC will not be charging parking fees during the 3-day race. He said police would not hesitate to take strict action against those who park their vehicles on road shoulders. He also confirmed that police have no plans to carry out special enforcement operation against motorists throughout the 3-day event. The Malaysia GP will begin with the test session on 10th November, followed by the qualifying session on 11 November and the actual race day on 12 November. Malaysia's Oscar-winning actor Michelle Yeoh was today voted onto the International Olympic Committee, the first Asian woman to win an Academy Award when she scooped Best Actress for Everything Everywhere All at Once earlier this year, was elected by 67 votes to 9 with 1 abstention.
There's a keypad and the smart card.
Yeoh was one of the 8 new members voted in on the final day of the 141st IOC session in Mumbai, India. The 61-year-old, who has been accompanied in Mumbai by her husband Jean Todt, the former president of motorsport governing body FIA, then received an IOC member medal from Thomas Bach. Yeoh's Hollywood breakthrough came when she was cast in 1997 Bond film Tomorrow Never Dies, opposite Pierce Brosnan, and she made her reputation in martial art movies including Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Bach said these candidates bring added value to the work of the IOC because of their experience and diverse expertise in different walks of life. Alright, so that concludes this edition of Malaysia Tonight. In our top story, 1 billion additional AHB units launched to help raise Bumiputra wealth. Till then, I'm Shuhaida Arifin, Malaysia Madani, tekad perpaduan penuhi harapan. Thank you for watching.